What's up, everybody? This is Logan Freeman. Welcome back to the Kansas City Commercial Real Estate Market Pulse. Today, we're joined by Joey Locker and Garrett Stiles, two former corporate sales leaders who now help developers identify land opportunities. They navigate entitlement risk and build projects across the Southeast. Again, everyone knows that we host this show for one simple reason, and that's that clarity beats noise. Man, we were just talking pre-show here. There's no shortage of headlines, opinions, misinformation, and predictions about commercial real estate. And what's missing is truly grounded, market-specific insights from people actually doing the work, listing them, leasing them, underwriting them, developing, closing deals all across the country. So if you got questions about land and land development and how deals are getting done, make sure to drop them in. And I'm excited to say Gabe Einhorn is always supporting the show. I appreciate you, Gabe. He says, here we go. I love it. Kellen, my sister's name is Kellen Vale. She's noticed that the land search often uncovers hidden zoning or utility hurdles that shape the entire deal. She loved to hear from you guys about how you're assessing those before diving in. Kellen, we'll definitely get to that as well. Now, if you're interested in commercial real estate in Kansas or Missouri or Nebraska or Arkansas or Iowa, and we're closing a big deal in Ohio this week, 465 single-family homes. So that's pretty cool. Reach out to us. Here's our team. Chad, Derek, Mitch, Joe, Nathan, Nick, Katie. I wouldn't be able to do anything without Katie. So thank you, Katie, for always putting it up. I want to give Katie a shout out for this next slide. I mean, look how nice these new slides and thumbnails look. I feel like I'm in 2030 already, man. You guys are looking so good. But today we're joined by Joey and Garrett of Southern View Development. Both took unconventional paths into real estate development. Joey from a successful career in construction and industry sales, and then Garrett from a decade at Dell Technologies. And together they're building a platform that goes far beyond traditional development, helping clients source the land, navigate the entitlement challenges, reduce political risk. Ooh, man, a lot of that going on right now, and identify opportunities across some of the fastest growing markets in the Southeast. I reached out to Garrett and Joey, oh gosh, it's been months ago now, because as a lot of the projects that we're working on, not just data centers, but even build to rent communities. I just put a presentation together for Joe. Joe's going to meet with the planning and zoning and the city council members of Blue Springs, Missouri this week, who have vehemently pushed back against build-to-rent communities. So what we're trying to show is a fiscal reason of why you should be interested in bringing these communities. And the quick math was incredible. 200 units at $250,000 per unit at an effective tax rate of, I think, 0.76% or 1.3%, generated $778,000 of tax for Blue Springs, and 68% of that went back to the schools. That's incredible, right? So what we did was built a presentation for him to showcase that. And I think that not only with data centers, but even with build to rent, it's like, hey, we don't want Section 8. We don't want affordable housing. We don't want any of that. And you look at the municipalities, comprehensive and planning, visions that they're putting out for all these developers. And that's exactly what they're asking for. But then when you propose something, it takes 2 to 3 years to get it approved, or you may not get it approved. And what I know is that certainty in these municipalities is what's creating the developers to have the confidence to say, I'm going to push go on that. In Kansas City, we're made up of 14 different counties, 9 on the Missouri side, 5 on the Kansas side. Each one has their own different guardrails, so to speak. And that's what I want to talk about with you guys today. So welcome to the show, Garrett and Joey.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate that having us.
Yeah, most definitely. So, I gave a little bit of background for the listeners here, and thank you all for tuning in. I very much appreciate it. Again, drop your questions down. I'm monitoring that, and if I miss it, Katie will definitely message it over to me. But, what are you guys seeing in the market right now? And tell me a little bit about, why you set up a business on the land side. Man, I started studying David Ricardo's Law of Economic Rent about 2.5 years ago. selfishly been the beneficiary of that on properties that I have owned, where public infrastructure dollars have increased the private valuations of my real estate, and I did nothing to do that, right? And so now we track a lot of infrastructure to do that. But what was the trend that got you guys kind of started in this business?
Well, I started Southern View Development back in 2021. And there was one sole purpose in the beginning stages of that, and that was to develop a 72-acre luxury motor coach resort just outside of Nashville, Tennessee. And this is a unique space in the RV world where this is targeted towards a subset of outdoors people that are buying individual lots and kind of treating this like a luxury neighborhood. So
For sure.
HOA, there's a club, all these different things with cash flow that kind of goes through the project. And this is targeting your Class A and Super C coaches. So a lot of these coaches are easily in the 2 millions. I'm seeing some of them in closer to 7 million that come with a Bugatti. So you can get into some crazy stuff on that side. But I noticed an opportunity in the market. Basically, this subset of real estate is really only in 48 other locations in the country. And to get into the category we're in, there's less than really 15.
Okay.
There wasn't a single one in the state of Tennessee of this statute. So we just started asking questions why on it. So that kind of led us into what we were doing. But as I found out quickly, development only pays when it's done.
Yeah.
So you got to go through this. And one of the things that we realized really quickly in this was the complexity of the entitlement process of it. You sit on a half-a-mile riverfront that's ran by the Army Corps. There's wetlands on this with TDEC. There's an archaeological site on there that has both TDEC and federal side of stuff. So you had a lot of guardrails in place on the larger picture side, and then you had a local side that they didn't understand what this was. So they looked at this as another RV park with Cousin Eddie's Winnebago going through on this. And we had to figure out how to navigate that process in a community that did not have the same vision as we did. So it was the community meetings, it was getting renderings and being the person that people could yell at on those situations. So that started in that process. And Garrett, we've been friends for almost 20 plus years now. And Garrett came to a lot of those meetings. So he saw some of the crazy things that were going on while he was working with Dale. So as technology starts getting more and more, and we start getting into more of the land side of things, because we tried vertical, we started to do the luxury homes and sell that, but I like the land, and Garrett liked the land of it. There was a lot of opportunity in this, and what we saw was the barrier of entry. A lot of people don't understand this space and don't understand how to navigate a commission or permits and all these different nuances within just the land itself, that we saw an opportunity while getting our teeth kicked in with this resort and going through those steps, that we could come up with a system on it. And that's basically what Garrett was able to do, is saw what the pains that I actually went through and found a better way to navigate all that.
That's incredible. Yeah, Garrett, I want to definitely talk about that. So I put this, the first luxury motor coach resort up on the screen. What an awesome looking project. Boys, I'm going to be down in Nashville June 25th through the 28th.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to be at Alan Jackson's his last hurrah or whatever. So I'm going to Nissan Stadium and checking that out. So I'll definitely hit you guys up whenever I'm in town. But Garrett, question kind of from Kellen Vale, but also, one thing I wanted to ask you is, when you guys are evaluating land, what separates land that looks good on paper from land that actually becomes a successful development? Like, what are those steps or processes or things that you're looking at when you're starting to evaluate a site?
I'd say it's multiple things. Of course, the zoning's number one. If you can have 15 concepts, but if none of them fit the zoning, it's not going to get approved. So kind of what we figured out, developers who lose the entitlements almost never lose because the project's bad. they just don't know what they're getting into when they go into that room. So
Yeah.
the wrong jurisdiction, the wrong commission, maybe it's the opposition group that nobody's scoped for, because neighbors are NIMBYs, not in my backyard.
Yeah.
They're coming out strong, just like a data center going on here in Nashville. So a great project in a hostile jurisdiction dies. A mediocre one, maybe in a friendly jurisdiction, gets built. So the politics variable is what nobody's pricing. You might have a couple, but that's kind of what we're focused on. And that's where the entitlement group came. You basically give us a parcel, what kind of product type you want, the density. And we created an AI program that runs it and gives a report all the way from the council member, what they voted for in the past, who in that community is going to come out and go against it. There are 3 hot buttons. And then our newest version, I put an estimated cost for everything from permits all the way until whatever product you're trying to build. But yeah, so that made us what Joey went through and I saw in the background. I didn't have any real estate experience, none at all. And I jumped from my 10-year career over to real estate about a little bit over a year ago. And then so we got now the entitlement group about 2 months ago. And that's kind of what we're focused on with it is making it easier of a know before you go into something, instead of spending 25 to 100 grand and then getting there and being like, oh, they don't want this, just buy one of our reports. And then you kind of have that heads up. And then it gives you a guide, a 6-step guide on talk to this council member. Here's the community group. Go talk to them, set up a meeting. And it gives you the steps. That way you're basically getting in front of their opposition before they even know it. So that's the concept of the entitlement group.
Ooh, I want to double click on that. So I often coach my team and folks in the Brokers Mastermind that obstacles are not objections if you address them.
That's it.
Right. So, the way that we launch real estate deals is we do a soft launch. We have buyers for every asset class. We talk to them. We ask them the questions. How are you evaluating this? What did we miss? What questions are you thinking about? Right. And then we create new marketing materials based off of the top 3 to 5 questions that we get. Then we hit the market, because now everybody that's in that data room has got these questions that are on everybody's mind, and those obstacles are addressed and they don't become objections. And now the deal has a great perspective instead of, oh man, can't get past that. So it seems like that's the approach you guys have taken in regards to giving developers and folks the information that they need to address these things before they have those meetings. Is that right?
Yep. And Joey actually went through that. They had a whole Facebook group about him against this resort. So
I believe it.
And they invited him to it. So he would sit in the back and just, he would just read it all. He would get their questions and he would give it to each of the council members. Hey, this is what they're going to say. This is why it's wrong. And then he also had the community meetings. He said, hey, anybody come talk to me. He wanted to be the face. He didn't want to bring a lawyer up to talk or engineer. He wanted to be the face. Like, this is the person that's developing it. I want to be the one you're getting, that's answering your questions.
Get yelled at.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, that's what it takes. And a lot of times. Now, Garrett, you mentioned starting with the zoning. How oftentimes do you find the opportunity to rezone something or upzone something or downzone something? Does that factor into the site selection criterion?
Yes, for sure. Because you want to know what the feasibility is on it. So if you see something else in that neighborhood where it could be that zoning, that's probably a good chance that it's going to be rezoned. Which, if you tell our entitlement group program, I want to rezone it to this, it analyzes that and gives you the pathway to that instead of just a by right development. So
nice.
Yeah, the first step is look what's around it. If there's not much of that around it, more than likely they're not going to be for it unless it's a really good cause and you can really back that up. So that's kind of where the rezoning possibility is a first take. Of course, anything can happen, but that's just the first glance, is look at the zonings around it.
For sure. Yeah. One of the things that I oftentimes try to focus on is pull up the master plan zoning map, right? And what I have actually been successful at this year, knock on wood, hopefully do a couple more, is I have found, for example, we sold 16.5 acres that was grandfathered in an industrial zoned location. So everything around it was self-storage or RV and boat storage, and it was a single family home. Yeah. And so I saw big opportunity right there, right? So I checked the zoning, called the city, looked at the master plan, and by golly, in their master plan, they actually had a site plan of redeveloping that site. So now I knew that I had, basically residential pricing, but I had industrial zoning. That thing just flew right off the shelf. Made one call, closed that deal, and moved on. So really cool opportunities in that front. But I will say, like, the thought process of rezoning or upzoning, from agriculture or to something else can be somewhat difficult on the infill side of things. But in urban cores, I have seen a lot of different opportunities to rezone, right? Maybe it's an office to residential conversion, or maybe we're doing an office to a mixed use, right? Maybe so we have retail on the main level, and then we have residential up there. So I think that's important to the listeners to understand that location matters here as well.
100%. I mean, even with our project, we went from ag to a commercial PUD in an area that was predominantly agriculture. So coming in and doing this, there was a commercial parcel a little bit down the road, but the goal for that, in my mind, was we were creating a corridor for outdoor recreation. So with what we wanted to do in this, the bigger play that as we were approaching this, instead of just going to the local councilman, I went to the economic director, the mayor, to the state and stuff on a lot of these things. And one of the big things that we had against us was there was not a commercial PUD in that area. Yeah, there was commercial, but there wasn't anything to really justify it. But they were also up for a update to the growth map.
Yeah.
So during the transition of us going through this, we started in October on the rezone. December 31st, the new growth map came out, and they had put our area in the growth map. So then that gave us some right to be able to do the things that we were doing there as well. So
love to hear that.
Getting ahead and speaking to the local groups who are actually making the decisions. And I say that very strongly because a lot of people think just because they're sitting on that board that they're the ones making the decisions, but there are people in the crowd that have more weight and more pull in these situations that can sway a vote on that board. So knowing the lay of the land, knowing who those loud people are on the internet, and sitting back and saying, okay, well, you guys are saying X, Y, and Z. If you get that to that councilman, that's automatically going to be in their head. So I treated each individual councilman like a human and made individual packets. Hey, this is the way you believe the county should grow. I need to approach you in this way.
Yeah.
The next person had a different opinion, and the next and the next. So you almost had to, I hate saying this, but you had to play a psychological war game with them to get through these things, because many people mistake that these people sitting on the board that, hey, and I made this mistake, is, hey, I'm holding you guys to the highest regard. You're a mayor, you're a councilman, you're a president, all this. But at the end of the day, they're just other dudes and chicks that decided to step up, and they have an opinion, and their opinions matter because they care about their community. So trying to find that level game with them, you're not going to win everybody, but if you can figure out a way of the growth that they want. Some people, they don't want growth, so you may not win.
Yeah, that's so well said. And what we were doing while we were doing our research for this Blue Springs meeting tomorrow was we actually found out they are in the process of updating their comprehensive and vision plan for 2026 and 2027, right? And then we found, utilizing AI, that in 2025 they came out and did a housing report saying, hey, we really are missing the affordable housing in our area, right? So now those are the hot buttons that we're plugging into our presentation and we're going to present tomorrow. So I love that. I think that's really important. And it goes into our next kind of opportunity here, which is like the entitlement side. And I think that's a kind of a vague word for a lot of people. So why don't one of you guys break down what the heck is entitlements actually made up of?
And this is where I also fell in this game of where the confusion of where entitlements end and where permits start.
That's right.
And there's some confusion in a lot of this. And in my mind, it is the front end of getting the overall project approved. This isn't just like a single family infill kind of a situation on this. This is getting the entire project put together before you even get to the permit status on it. So and what you have there on the political risk, depending on what you're building. I mean, we just watched a I mean, a $250 million luxury resort just get denied because of their approach to it. Because, yeah, they had a great idea. Yeah, this was awesome. And this was going to bring in $5 million of taxable income for the community. It was going to drive small business. It was going to do all these things. But they didn't realize that the local people that are around that property all had a very, very loud voice.
Mm-hmm.
They all came out to the commission meetings, and instead of having a person in front of that situation of addressing this, they brought in a PR firm. They brought in lawyers. They brought in engineers.
Yeah.
The last thing you ever want at a zoning meeting is an engineer trying to explain why your project is valuable to a community. It just doesn't work.
Absolutely. That's really well said. So sort of made up of some of the political risks, the zoning and approvals, the community engagement, and that's where you guys really step in. Now, Garrett, you were talking about a resource or a platform that people can, kind of tie into. So talk to us about that. Is that something that's publicly available for people to kind of subscribe to?
Yes, yeah. So it's the entitlement group that we kind of launched as an arm for SBD, and we actually created a DARI score, which is proprietary to us, a development approval risk index. And it does your political climate weight, commission composition, opposition history, staff posture, and then procedural risk. So it takes those 5 and it gives you a score 1 to 10 of what the approval risk index is. You want that to be lower, and it also gives you a color code: yellow, green, yellow, red, or black. So the lower the better.
That's great. Is that nationwide then?
Nationwide, yep.
Wow, point people in the right direction. We got a lot of listeners on right now, and I think they're sticking around because they want to know where that is. So, how do they get access to that?
Yeah, they just go to the entitlementgroup.com. And that's a service that we offer at SBD. And anybody on the call, if they just reach out and say that they saw us here, we'll give you a free DARI risk score report for any parcel or project of your choice. That way you can kind of see how it looks, and we can give you a proof of concept. And then, of course, hopefully use us on the next one.
Absolutely. Well, that'll be in the show notes for sure. The entitlementgroup.com. Go check that out. Now, we talked really early on about you guys' project in Tennessee here. Where does it stand now?
So we're on our final permits.
Okay.
This basically. So, like I said a little bit earlier, we went from ag to commercial PUD in this side of stuff, and working with the local community. You can do an RV park inside an agriculture side. So you could do it, but there's a lot of nuances and rules around the zoning and what you can and cannot do in it. And that kind of put us in a position that we had to obsolete other things or go ask for a bunch of variances. So instead of that, we went to if we want to do all of this, what would we need to get it zoned to?
Mm.
Then we went into the commercial PUD side of this, because we'll have 272 lots on there. You'll have an 8,500 square foot main clubhouse that'll have gym, laundry. There'll be a little museum that talks about some of the history on the property. There's pickleball courts in
cool.
there. We'll have an on-site restaurant, 12 cabins, and then you'll have an on-site amphitheater along the river. So we're about 25-minute drive from downtown Nashville, and then about an hour and a half boat ride out to the property as well.
What a cool property, man. I mean, we got a great listener question in. I'm going to just ask this. What lessons from developing this project apply to other asset classes and development opportunities?
Every bit of it. I mean, every single bit of it. And I took on every agency you could imagine, from TDEC to the Army Corps to EPA, all of those different aspects above the local side of things on this that has really come to light on it. So this applies to everything. And that's what I think really has come out in the entitlement group, is making sure that you have everything covered on it. Because when we found this property, did we know there was a 7,000-year-old archaeological site on there? No.
Yeah.
Did we know there was a community from the late 1700s that was on that property, where you have house foundations, an old cistern, there was a hotel and post office across the road?
Wow.
No, we didn't know any of these things until we started just diving into it. We had to do a mussel survey. We had to do a bat survey. All these different things that started to pop up. Did we know they were coming? No. It was, hey, you're getting kicked in your teeth because even going and looking at the process of what you need to go through, things get triggered by the next thing that's done.
Yeah.
Like, well, and especially in the Army Corps and the federal side, they're like, hey, I can't do this because I don't know this. And then you're like, okay, you get it 3 months later. And then you're like, all right, I need 3 months to look at this. And then I'm going to give you a decision aside on it. So every bit of it, from wetlands to a salamander that may be extinct or going extinct on this that you have to take care of, all of it plays into it when you get into the land development side that you may not have understood, and understanding the jurisdictions, where that jurisdiction starts and ends, because that's constantly changing from a federal standpoint. So
yeah, that's really good feedback. I mean, so, it seems like you guys you've taken the knowledge that you've learned from this deal and other deals that you've done, and you're starting to build sort of multiple, businesses around one industry. So, tell us a little bit about the vision. Was it always to create kind of these multiple verticals, or did those just things kind of emerge naturally as you're working through the process?
Man, I've got a kind of a mind. The way my kind of philosophy works in life is business and land. And on the business side, I've always been a numbers person. Like if the math don't math, then like it's not really going to work. And
sure.
You can manipulate money a little bit in a sense, but it's going to be found out. So numbers are at the end of the day. So I've always loved business and growing businesses in this. And then I love land. So in our mind, it is the business side creates the cash flow. The cash flow allows you to buy real estate, and the real estate builds the wealth. So you've got an ecosystem that lives within each other. So with Contractor CFO, this was a thing where I saw that 82% of small businesses, especially in the trade side of stuff, fail within the first 5 years because they didn't understand cash flow. Well, we've got AI and all these different applications that you don't have to be a finance bro to understand finance at this point. You can really utilize this to get a better understanding. And if you understand the money of your company, you're ahead of 82% of the people that are out there, and you can really have an opportunity to kind of make a successful company. So helping guys in the trade situation of really growing their businesses, I saw the opportunity where most of the trade businesses in this country are owned by the baby boomer generation. And many of those are just going to go under, and no one's going to end up taking them over.
Yeah.
So a lot of these guys don't realize they have a very valuable asset that a younger generation could potentially come in and buy, put the right systems and processes in place, and then grow that business as well. So you tie that into the real estate side, because we need guys to build all this stuff, and being able to work within that ecosystem, it's fun. I love that side of it. And then you've got Little Diggers, which is our new franchise that we just bought that builds into our ecosystem, which is an indoor sandbox that's construction themed for kids 0 to 7. So
very cool.
Really helping kids and everyone, see the opportunity of trades, because we're about to skyrocket in growth in this country, at least in my mind. And I want people to see that opportunity, because you have a lot of people scared of AI. Hey, I was going to take my job. It's going to do this. Well, if you look at the statistics, construction is one of the least impacted industries out there when it comes to AI. But AI can make you so much more efficient in the trades. That gives up these opportunities to start businesses or buy businesses that they maybe didn't think about it in the past.
Yeah. Well, I'm just watching the LinkedIn right now, and you're just getting all kinds of light bulbs popping up on the LinkedIn. So go back and listen to that. That's awesome. I really appreciate you sharing that. Yeah. Joey, that was really good. And what I love about it is the vertical integration side and controlling every layer, not controlling, but more about like operationalizing every layer, right? The acquisition, the entitlement, the execution component of that. And what I've learned over the last 10 years of being an entrepreneur is, depending on what's going on in the marketplace, if you only have, I guess I'll say it like this: if all you hold is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah.
So you got to have multiple tools in the tool belt, and I think that's an important lesson to have been learned. So Little Diggers, I've got 3 Little Digger kids that would love to learn more about that. So very cool, man. That's pretty awesome. Well, you kind of talked a little bit about, like where the vision for the United States is sort of heading, but like in your guys' opinion, being on the forefront of land, what are you seeing? What's next for development? Is there big housing demand, or is it more on the infrastructure side? Just talk to me a little bit about what's next for development in your guys' minds.
Man, Garrett, I'll let you hit on your side, because I'm gonna hit on the hospitality and the kind of experiential side.
Yeah. So on my side, I think it's just it's going up. I think that they're trying to put together some new bills and pull back some of that red tape, because every developer runs into that red tape. It's okay, well, I want to do this, but we have to go through permit, inspection. So I think once things get easier and AI is implemented into maybe the permitting, which they've done in some cities, I think that's just going to let us. The only way to get cheaper housing is to build more. We're not just going to lower the prices on what we have. It doesn't make sense. So we can build more, prices come down naturally. So I think as long as they keep going in this direction and they pull some of that red tape back, the development should increase, and then trades will increase, and then the stuff that we're doing, everything just kind of flows together. And everybody in the development world, I mean, that's the real estate's the number one wealth builder. And
yeah, absolutely. Well,
I think it's going to do good.
Yeah, I was listening to Mark Andreessen speak to Joe Rogan on his podcast. So just a clip of it. And he was talking about, can you build anything in America anymore? It's not just data centers, but think about multifamily, single family home subdivision. It is so costly and so timely in many municipalities to build anything. Now we've got a shortage in a lot of areas. And now we go to the law of supply and demand. Yeah. And, there's a big bill in Congress right now that is trying to limit what people can own and how long they can own it. And, and I was just discussing with the developer this morning. I said, well, at least they, got built to rent back, off of that bill. But, John Burns Consulting just put out a report, said, well, just because of that scare and that legislation, second quarter of 2026, BTR, the capital, the projects is way down. Yeah, and what people don't understand is those deals take years to get done. So if we just took 3 to 4 months and just put a pause on all these guys and gals that are trying to build this stuff and bring more supply, now that's going to put upward pressure on the stuff that's already out there, which increases prices, right? And so, I think that the idea that can you build anything in America right now is a fair one, and it's not just from, all these data centers that we're seeing. It's just about anything. And every developer I'm talking to is first question is well, what are the incentives for that area? Like what can we get? And it's like that might not be the best, but that's what we have prioritized as a country, correct?
You have to. I mean, these municipalities are holding developers by their throat on what they can, impact fees and all these different things that come into the development. Hey, I want you to upgrade this water line over here to do your new development and all these things. Because instead of the municipalities taking care of the infrastructure as they needed, they keep pushing it off to the next administration or the next side of these things. And then developers are here to hold the bag. And the moment you start putting 5 million or 2 million, whatever the case may be, on the infrastructure, you just price yourself out of some of these things. And
that's right.
No one understands that kind of model. But I think where Garrett alluded to earlier on the permitting side, Tampa just did this, which was great, where they turned their permitting process into a phone system where you call in, they send you a link, they video you in, and then you get your permit on the phone to be able to go through this. So you're seeing technology play a place in this, but at the end of the day, it's going to have to be a political overhaul of the process, because for one good example, and this is the reason I know this is because it's what tied us up with the Army Corps and the EPA. So one of the big things in America is the EPA and the Army Corps were able to come in and put into a place rules and laws and all these different things that Congress or what didn't put into place. So they were these agencies that were hiring people, and then they made rules. And then those rules turned into what we have under the Clean Water Act and the Clean Air Act. Mm-hmm. And what that did was just turn this into a nightmare for developers. That's where there's a good chart out there where you can see from when the Clean Water Act was put in 1979 that the time to get stuff done skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Started seeing manufacturers, everyone go overseas and start doing business there. People are like, well, why are you doing this? Why are you taking jobs from us? Why are you doing this? Well, your municipality and your federal government put rules into place that me as a manufacturer now need 3 to 5 years just to get through entitlements and permits to even start construction. But I can go down to Mexico and start construction in a month.
Yep.
So
yep.
that plays into the growth of America. And you can see the growth of America take a nosedive after 1979 as well, because you had all of these environmental lawyers come out to play. You had all these different things that have got in the way that America's growth has been stunted. So one of the big things that's coming, and this is where I'm bullish on America in the future, is one of the things that's coming through Congress right now is basically an overhaul of WOTUS, which is Waters of the United States, and the final definitions that are based in that came down from a Supreme Court decision in 2023, which was Sackett versus the EPA. And basically the end of this was, where's the end of the jurisdiction for the Army Corps? Because in their rules, if you had water running off your property that connected to a navigable piece, they had jurisdiction over your land. Mm-hmm. They could do it a mile away or 2 miles away. So you get caught into this just red tape. No one wants to make a decision. And then you ask the Army Corps why it takes so long to get approval. And I got a humanizing response to this that I didn't think about in the beginning of it. Was the Army Corps, when they're making a determination over your AJD, your jurisdictional delineation over their jurisdiction over wetlands or whatever the case may be on your property. During that process, the permit that I put into place as a developer, which now is, I think, like 700 pages long, has to be able to stand up in a court of law for when the Army Corps gets sued by Southern Environmental Law, the Sierra Club, I think is the other one. Anytime a permit is given in the United States for a Clean Water Act or Clean Air Act, they sue the Army Corps, because the Army Corps is not going to take our permit away, but this law group, they're going to sue for hundreds of millions of dollars. And if they win, there's no fault. They just want a lot of money on this situation. But the Army Corps needs your permit to go to court to be able to do it. So they're going to be strenuous on you as a developer. Go through all this, go do this survey, do all these different things that have just, hey, people just don't want to develop anymore.
Right.
So all those different things come into it. But I think the changing of this, and this is what Lee Zeldin, when he came in and he's under the EPA, was, hey, we have $1.5 trillion worth of development in the United States that's being held up in these two acts by the EPA and the Army Corps.
Wow.
As they get that out of the way, the goal and the way that it's written is they want to take a step back and then give the authority back to the states and allow them to do it, because we've been fighting the Army Corps for our clean water permit for 3 years. We've had the state clean water permit for over a year now. So the state has determined, yeah, we love this. Start building. Federal is like, nah, you need to go through us first.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely some opportunities there. Right. And, I think those types of things were what Doge was supposed to kind of, get working on. Right. And I think they did a lot of good things. But at the same time, there's so much, right? I mean, it's such a big thing, but $1.5 trillion of development that is being held up. It's like, it's not the fact that people don't have the capital to do these things that would be beneficial for the community.
So much money out there.
I can't wait 3 years. Like, it's the same thing of, hey, there's so many good people that should run for president, right? But they're like, I'm not a maniac, right? Like, I'm not interested in being beholden to X, Y, and Z or anything like that. I don't want to disrupt my world. That's not how it was always, guys. Like, it was very different 50, 60, 70, 100 years ago, right? So it has very much gotten politicized, and it seems like and I'm putting the money sign up here. It just seems like it's a money grab on everything. Being a litigious community as we are in this law that is there. So, but all that can be solved, right? Yeah. It takes time, but those are things that we've created our own problems for that we can also unravel. But it takes folks like us to speak up about these issues and bring them to your representative elected officials and talk to these people, right? Like that's how this
locally is we are heavily involved into the local community where we're developing the resort. I sit on the tourism board up there. I sit on the Downtown Merchants Association with businesses and stuff. So getting involved in their community and starting the changes there, that's where I think real impact really happens, because we keep looking to the outside of how crazy the world is, and we're trying to figure out how we can make such a big impact. Make an impact locally.
That's right.
Make an impact locally, it's going to compound, and other people are going to see it, that the next community does the same thing, and then you don't have all this weight on your shoulders.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're running out of time. Let's get to our quick takes. My favorite section. I will say, guys, a lot of people have stuck around for a very long time. So the value that you guys have brought today has been phenomenal. So I just appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Blessed for you guys spending the time with us. But how about favorite book or podcast that you guys are kind of diving into right now?
My favorite book was How to Win Friends and Influence People. And then, of course, podcast, the Land Development Podcast. I listen to them all the time.
Yeah.
That's one of my big ones. And Deal Junkies. That's another one.
There we go. Putting some good ones out there. Dale Carnegie actually went to the University of Central Missouri, and that is where I went to school. So I definitely read that book. I have like 5 or 6 copies because I kept losing them and finding them. They're all ratted and nasty, but you can find it for 25 cents, and it's like one of the best reads that you could ever do. Joey, do you have any that you want to add?
Profit first on the book side of stuff. I've watched that book change lives. I've watched it personally in my girlfriend's companies that she's put it in. I've watched hundreds of other people put it into place, and understanding money from a core standpoint. You understand this, I think you're a dangerous person on this earth.
Yeah, that's really good. So let's talk about one of the deals, maybe not the biggest deal, but one of the deals that you guys have walked away from here, either recently or one that you were like very excited about that, you passed on, and why did you do that?
There's plenty of those.
Yeah, we had one in Florida that we were looking at for a while. That how big was that when it was in Fremont, Florida?
Oh, it was 130 build to rents. The property that we were going back and forth for a while on. Man, there's been a few, and that's what's good about the future is with AI and stuff, and that's implementing it into stuff. You can go through deals pretty quickly, and you can understand what's good and what's not. So I'm a big fan of at least like looking into things and seeing where the pitfalls are, and then we'll move it a little bit further along. But definitely been plenty of them to underwrite and just like this doesn't pencil.
All right,
yeah. You make or break the deal at acquisition. So buy smart is the big one.
Yeah, most definitely. Joe, you didn't get a chance to talk about the hospitality side. So I do want to see, if you had to pick one of your favorite asset classes or project types that you're seeing right now. People love to hear trends and kind of where the tailwinds are. What's that in your opinion if it's on the hospitality side of things?
Experiential hospitality
is
where I think is the biggest opportunity of a lifetime because of where the money is and who has it. So look at who owns the most wealth in this country is your baby boomers. And if you look at what the baby boomers told us growing up, work your ass off while you're young, have fun in retirement. And you've got 10,000 baby boomers retiring today that are spending money into things where they want to experience life now. And what COVID did was it stopped from people wanting to fly all around the world. The baby boomers grew up in America where they wanted to see all the things that America had to offer. We have the best interstate system of any country on this planet to get from east to west. So being able to travel it, they don't want to get on planes. So a lot of people are hitting the road and going or hitting for travel, and they want to experience more life instead of just going and staying in a place on it. So if you can create an experience that can connect with a human on an outdoor space, because it makes you just like a happier person being outdoors in it, I think you can be a dangerous person. And it's not only the multimillionaires that are looking for this.
That's right.
In it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's a really well put. And I think that you're right. You know, you have to look at who has the most wealth in this country and what age are they, and the demographics plays into a lot of that, right? So absolutely. Well, guys, point everybody in the right direction if they want to, reach out, follow up, learn more about, the tool that you have built at the Entitlement Group, but also Southern View Development. Where do they go?
Yeah, the entitlementgroup.com, southernviewdevelopment.com. If you just go to our LinkedIn, which will probably be on here, all of our contacts information is probably on our LinkedIns. We're pretty good at posting on our LinkedIn. So, yeah, anywhere on there, you can find us.
Awesome. Most definitely, guys. Well, I appreciate your time here. Thanks. We carried a lot of listeners through the whole time. So I know a lot of value was given. If you guys want to learn more about Kansas City commercial real estate, head over to www.mwcreadvisors.com. It's been another episode of the Kansas City Commercial Real Estate Market Pulse with Garrett Stiles and Joey Locker. Guys, thanks again for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Really, it was ours.
And we'll see you next week on another episode. Actually, later this week on another episode. I got doubles this week. I'm just going back to back. So check us out. We're coming out with live episodes every single week. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, guys.